Imagine a world where 1/3 of all the people you know suddenly disappear. This is not a dream or a movie plot. This is history. In the 14th century, a deadly disease known as the Black Death swept across Europe, killing millions and changing the course of history forever. This is the story of how a tiny germ brought down kingdoms and altered the lives of everyone it touched. In the year 1347, Europe was a place of knights, castles, and kings. The 100 Years' War between England and France was raging, and the English, led by King Edward III, had just won a major victory at the Battle of Crécy. The English had a secret weapon, the longbow. This powerful bow could shoot arrows that could pierce armor, making the English army almost unbeatable. After their victory, the English laid siege to the city of Calais, a strategic port on the French coast. The siege lasted for a year, but in August 1347, the city finally fell. The English had gained a foothold in France, but little did they know that a far greater threat was about to arrive. 2 months after the fall of Calais, in October 1347, a group of Genoese trading ships arrived in the port of Messina, Sicily. These ships were not like any others. They carried a deadly cargo, diseased sailors with strange black swellings on their bodies. These swellings, called buboes, were filled with blood and pus, and they spread rapidly. The disease was bubonic plague, and it was about to change the world. The plague spread quickly through Messina, and then to other parts of Italy. It moved northward, reaching France, Spain, and England by the summer of 1348. Wherever it went, it left a trail of death. People died within days of showing symptoms, and there was no known cure. The disease was so terrifying that it seemed like a punishment from God. Many believed that the end of the world was near. The Black Death was not just one disease but two. First form, bubonic plague, was spread by fleas that lived on rats. The second form, pneumonic plague, was even more deadly, and was spread through the air by coughing and sneezing. The combination of these two forms made the disease incredibly lethal. In some cities, up to 80% of the population died. The bodies piled up so quickly that there were not enough people left to bury them. The air was filled with the stench of death. The impact of the Black Death was felt in every aspect of life. Families were torn apart, and entire villages were wiped out. The economy was devastated as workers died, and fields were left untended. The church, which was supposed to provide comfort and answers, was also hit hard. Many priests and monks died, and those who survived were often too afraid to help the sick. People turned to superstition and witchcraft, blaming Jews and other minorities for the outbreak. The Black Death also changed the way people thought about life and death. Before the plague, most people believed that their fate was predetermined by God. But the randomness of the disease, which could strike anyone at any time, made people question this belief. They began to think more about the here and now, and less about the afterlife. This shift in thinking would eventually lead to the Renaissance, a period of great cultural and scientific advancement. In the years following the Black Death, the world was a different place. The population had been drastically reduced, and the survivors were left to rebuild. The feudal system, which had dominated medieval Europe, began to break down. With fewer workers, labor became more valuable, and peasants demanded better treatment. This led to the peasant revolts in England and France, where the lower classes rose up against their lords. The Black Death also had a profound impact on the arts and literature. Many of the greatest works of the period, such as Boccaccio's Decameron and Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, were written in the aftermath of the plague. These works often explored themes of death, love, and the human condition, reflecting the anxieties and fears of the time. In the end, the Black Death was a turning point in history. It showed the vulnerability of human societies and the power of nature. It also demonstrated the resilience of the human spirit, as people found ways to survive and rebuild in the face of unimaginable tragedy. The world would never be the same again, and the lessons of the Black Death continue to resonate today. So, the next time you hear the phrase, "a third of the world died," remember that it is not just a number. It is a reminder of a time when the world faced its greatest challenge and survived. The Black Death may be a distant memory, but its legacy lives on in the stories we tell and the lessons we learn.